Alright, hey guys, Simon here. We're doing our Minecraft design school once again, and today we have a Nordic village sent in by TheRobidog. I don't know what a Robidog is, but sounds cool. Okay, let me just read. Okay, let me see. Creative. Let me just fly around it. Oh, hey, look, there's the mead hall. I detect a little bit of Skyrim in here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So, what did he say? He says, "Hi Simon, I recently watched a video of your design school in Minecraft. I have now decided to send something in myself. I have started this map quite a long time ago, a year or more, and I have let it rest for a long time now because I don't really know how to continue or if I should change something about it." Okay. He says, "My map is a Nordic village. It only has 6 houses and a keep yet. That lies on an ocean shore. When I started, I first built the keep and then built the walls around it. I was satisfied with the keep because it turned out the way I wanted it to, but I wasn't really satisfied with the wall, mostly because of the towers. I then started to build a blacksmith and another house, which I think turned out quite well. Then I built the harbor and put a few houses there as well. I'm not really happy with those houses, mostly because they seem too tall, or respectively, my walls seem too low. I would be happy about your opinion and ideas for the town." So, okay, so there's the wall. I'm guessing here's the wall. And there's the ocean. Let me just try and find the port, or the harbor. Ah, there it is. So the wall goes like that. Interestingly, he put lights on the outside of the wall. You know, walls are meant to be defenses against people trying to attack you. I mean, I know it's kind of mean to be, attacking people and trying to pillage their towns. But walls are like, they're not pleasant things. And so what you're doing is you're giving the enemies light at night while they are trying to climb over the walls to kill your dudes and steal your stuff, which is nice of you. But walls are military structures, right? Anyway, just a little thing. I know you're being nice, providing light and everything. It's a little bit unusual. Although having said that, it might be that, hey, you light up the outside of the wall so you can shoot those dudes trying to climb the wall, with your archers or whatever it is. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It kind of seems like you're a really nice person, that you're giving people light everywhere. Okay, so these are the walls, and you talk about how these houses seem too big compared to the wall. Interesting concern. These are 2-story houses. And it looks like the floor to floor is about 4 or 5 meters tall. How tall are these on the interior? Yeah, floor to floor is 5 meters. So what floor to floor means, it's like this is the floor. You go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the floor itself 5. So 5 meters above this floor is the next floor. So floor to floor height refers to that. And 5 is a lot. This is just something you kind of learn in architecture school, or if you look at buildings a lot. Usually you don't really realize it, but maybe like if you're at home right now, just look at how tall it is from your floor to ceiling. I know it's not floor to floor. Floor to ceiling is not floor to floor because you have the thickness between the bottom of the ceiling and the top of the floor is that as well. But like my house here, the doors are 2 meters tall, and then it's about another maybe 400 millimeters above that. So it's like 2.5 meters, from floor to ceiling in my house. So you've got like 5. But that's the thing, like in Minecraft, things are a little bit odd. Like 2.5 meters is that. And the problem is that everything in Minecraft is 1 meter blocks, and so everything becomes bigger in Minecraft than they are in real life. So 1, 2, 3. So here the floor to floor is 4 meters. That's quite substantial. As for your wall seems fairly reasonable. I mean, it's not a massive wall, but it's about 10 meters. How tall is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, about 10 or 12 meters tall. I think your wall is okay. It's just not. It's not massive, but it's it's a decent size. I should probably turn this into peaceful, so there's no zombies. But let's come back to this. So you say the walls you're not too happy with? Did you say that? Satisfied with the keep. Wasn't really satisfied with the wall because of the towers. Have you ever looked at? Just gonna go into Google and look up like city walls or even like Nordic walls. Maybe just kind of go into like Google. What I'm typing into Google image search is let's just try Nordic city wall. Nordic city wall. See what comes up. Image. Interestingly, mostly it's Minecraft stuff. You know why? Because the Nords didn't really have city walls. Yeah. Well, they did. There's just not very many of them. And there's also pictures of Skyrim. So no actual. But let's just take out Nordic, right? And just type in city wall into Google image search, and you know what? Most of it is quite simple. Most of it is quite simple. And again, it's because walls are defensive structures. They're military structures. They're not there to look good. They're there to stop enemies from coming to your town and stealing your stuff and burning down your houses. So walls are fairly ugly in real life as well. And maybe the towers are just a little bit too fancy. I know this you're not actually building this to keep your dudes from being killed. Interestingly, there's a lot of Asian Chinese walls. The Chinese do have quite a significant military history, and the Great Wall of China is a Chinese idea. Not sure if it was a good idea, but we build walls, the Chinese. And but you want Nordic. Yeah, it's like the Nords didn't really have that many stone walls, but there are kind of European walls. And I'm just saying that if you're gonna type that into Google, you can see what they look like. To be honest, none of them look very impressive, because they're very practical structures. They're not really, good-looking structures. They're practical structures, and so they don't look very good. They just work really well. Yeah, occasionally there's kind of walls from video games in these images, and the video game wars are invariably more interesting than the real life wars, which is kind of funny. So yeah, real wars aren't very interesting anyway. I don't know how you want the towers to look. Maybe something on top of the tower. Maybe I see some of these here. At the top of the tower, they'll stick out a little bit. So that they'll stick out a little bit from the actual base of the towers. Maybe you want that just to differentiate the top of it a little bit, make it look a little bit better. To be honest, that looks fine. It's not bad. Maybe if it sticks out a little bit, just so that right at the top. Maybe that'll be a bit more interesting. But it's a minor thing. It's not a big thing. And as for the height of the wall, actually, let me just. Well, I mean, the walls vary in height quite a bit anyway, so I don't know if you can get any answers just from looking at real life walls. To be honest, what is this? Britannica.com? To be honest, I think your walls are kind of the right height. Let me just look at this. What is this? Sana? The town that I'm looking at, it's called Sana, apparently, or maybe this is something else. Let me just visit the page. It's from Encyclopedias. Yeah, Sana in Yemen. I chose this image because there's houses behind the wall, and yeah, the houses are are kind of taller than the walls. And that's perfectly fine, I think. I don't know about you though, maybe you're looking at them at the wrong angle. Maybe they can be a bit taller. But I don't think this is really a problem. It's a little bit strange, like maybe the strange part is the fact that they're exactly the same height as the wall. I think these houses are a little bit tall, but I don't think it's unreasonable. Maybe they can be a little bit shorter. Like I said, the floor-to-floor heights of this is quite substantial. So maybe just for the sake of making it look better, these can be a little bit shorter. But other than that, I think that's fine. I don't think that's all that bad. Let me just look around here. Like this, for example, this is a one-story house, or like a stable or something, or a gatehouse. Your walls are kind of short, but again, I think, in a way it's kind of interesting, because, it's like the town built the walls, and then as the town got bigger and bigger, and, I'm just kind of making up a story for your town, but as the town got bigger and bigger and wealthier, the houses got bigger and bigger, but then, for whatever reason, they didn't have any reasons to, renovate the wall, because maybe it's peacetime, they're not fighting anyone, no one's stealing their stuff and killing their dudes, and so they just left the walls as it is, and they just kind of built bigger and bigger houses around it. And that happens too, even in real cities. And maybe it looks a little bit strange when, like, you have, this wall that looks kind of like, maybe it's like a 5-meter tall wall, which, when the town was really small, it makes a lot of sense. But then as the town grew and grew, then it's just this wall in the middle of the town that doesn't really make sense anymore. Like, that happens in real cities. And that's fine, it's just the history of the city, like, It's not like there's anything wrong with that. The town changed over time. And that's why the wall is different. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. If you don't like the towers, then I would just go to Google image search and look at castles and city walls and towers, and maybe just, copy something. Or, well, not copy. If you don't like the word copying, we'll get some inspiration from something in real life. And change them a little bit. I don't think they need to be changed very much, even if you do change them. Interesting rafters and things. No loot. No staircases. Do you have a problem with staircases? I don't mean that in a mean way, or like a lot of people. Like, it's not surprising to have problems with staircases. They're always difficult, and I always tell people to really kind of experiment and learn about staircases and just figure out how to do staircases well, because, do you think this is a good staircase? It's an okay staircase. The corridors are kind of narrow. And again, like, this is the thing with Minecraft. Actually, I should talk about this, just as a concept. Like, 1 meter wide corridors are really narrow in Minecraft, or they feel really narrow. But if you go look at a corridor in your own house, you'd find that they are about 1 meter. And if you live in America, then I don't know how many feet and inches it is. But it's like, 3.5 feet. Or like a meter. It feels fine in real life, but it seems really small in game. And that's it's just a factor of, games. That things kind of feel smaller than they would in real life. Not sure why. It happens in a lot of games. And partly the reason is, look at this, because everything is 1 meter wide. Look at this wall. This wall is 1 meter thick. And you can't make walls any thinner than this in the game. But if you go up to a wall, maybe like go to a doorway or something in your house, you can find a place where you can just kind of measure how thick the walls are in your house. In my house is a light timber framed house. So the walls are about 10 centimeters or 100 millimeters, which is 1/10 of this thickness. Like my walls are like this, like from here, or even less, like from here to there. Like, that's how thick the walls actually are. You see how thick the door is in game? That's how thick the walls are in my house, or even less than that. which seems a little bit crazy, but it's perfectly normal in a house. If you live in a masonry house where you got like brick or concrete walls, you might have like 300mm thick walls, maybe, or maybe even a little bit more, but definitely not a meter thick. I would be really surprised if you lived in a house where the walls are a meter thick. You'd have to tell you would have to like tell me what kind of house that is if you manage to get that. Maybe it's like a really old. Maybe if it's like a high-rise brick house and you lived on the bottom floor, that might be the case. But it's like you almost never see 1 meter thick walls in a house. This is insane. But what it means is everything in Minecraft has to be bigger because everything is 1 meter blocks. So, normally a room that is, 4 meters by 5 meters on the outside would be perfectly fine on the inside because the walls are only 100mm thick. But in Minecraft, you have to make them like 2 meters wider both ways because you have to fit the wall in. So everything in Minecraft has to be bigger than they are in real life. Just something to keep in mind if you are designing stuff based on what you think real life stuff should be. I don't know, that's just something to think about. It is something to look at. Wow, it's so thick. It's just something to keep in mind when you're designing things in Minecraft. And like if you think, well, this should be big enough in real life, I don't understand why it doesn't seem big enough in game. It's just different. Like for some reason, once you get into the game, things don't scale properly, and you kind of have to change some of these things. Oh, here's a staircase. Hey, it's a pretty good staircase. Yeah, look at that. You can do staircases. But look how big it is, though. I know you split up a bit, but look how wide it is. Look how much space this takes. A 2 meter wide staircase, and then 2 more meters on either side for the railings. So your staircase is like 4 meters wide and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 meters long, 4 meters wide. That's a staircase, just to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Wow, that sounds insane. I can't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. But I mean, imagine putting a staircase indoors, and how much room it takes up just to have a staircase going up to the next floor. So yeah, staircases are difficult. And I don't, I keep telling people, hey, practice your staircases, and I absolutely don't blame you if you have trouble doing staircases. But yeah, they take a lot of space. Like even here, even this looks like it's too close, right? I mean, it's like, hey, there's not enough space here. It feels really tight here, even though you've given up like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 meters just for a staircase. It's a bit insane. It's a bit insane, but it's something you just have to get used to if you're building stuff in Minecraft. So, this definitely feels like there's a bit of Skyrim influence. But that's cool. So this is the main hall. What do they call this in? Longhouse? No, this is not really a longhouse. Maybe it is a longhouse. It's not that long though. Like longhouses usually are actually long. Yours is kind of more wide. And we don't really have wide houses. We just have long houses. Here's a throne. That's a pretty cool throne. I can't actually sit on it. I can crouch a little bit on it. That's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. I do like it. And I understand why you say you like it too. Although I'm not sure why the inside of the ceiling is flat. And why the frame here that isn't symmetrical. Okay, there's a little bit of strangeness. There's a little bit of strangeness, but otherwise it's pretty good. Why is that not symmetrical? I know the walls curve in a little bit, but that just means this should be a bit narrower. Anyway, and it's difficult. You're doing curves with squares, so, of course it's difficult. And then we have a basement that is natural landscape. Awesome. Is that upstairs? Do we have an upstairs? We do have an upstairs. Like, see how like 2 meter floor to ceiling of 2 meters is too short, even in real life. But then when that's floor to floor is 3 meters, which is fine in real life, but then real life floors are not a meter thick, you know? Real life floors might be half a meter thick, if that. I don't know if this stuff is kind of useful or interesting or not. Like, if you're just building in Minecraft, then you just have to think in terms of Minecraft. I don't know how many of you guys can just get your hands on some plans and sections for a house. Like, I know my house, like, we did some renovating years ago now. And so we'd have like kind of architectural drawings of my own house. And it's kind of, I don't know, they're not easy to read, but if you can try to just look at them and then just kind of look at the scale and the sizes and just see how big things are. It's a very useful learning experience, just to see how big things are. Like, you know, a section is basically, you know, you cut your house in half and then you look through the walls. So you're seeing stuff that you don't usually see, and you kind of, or from a perspective that you don't usually see. It's really helpful to learn about architecture. Just look at plans. You learn a lot. As long as you try to interpret them and try to understand them, yeah, you learn a lot just from reading plans. They're not, you know, they're not common. Like, you don't just kind of pick up plans from a library or something. But if you can get your hands on some, I definitely recommend it. Maybe you can just go online and find them. But it's not the same. Like, looking at plans on a screen is not really the same as looking at them, because they're usually large sheets of paper, and you kind of have to spread them out on a big table and then look at them. So it's not as easy to look at, you know, plans on a small screen. But I guess if you've got nothing else, that helps. Alright, so this is fairly good. The upstairs is a little bit confusing, but yeah, I like this too. Exterior is good. Interesting staircase. Maybe the blacksmith is too close. Yeah, maybe that house is also too close. This is very, very close. I don't know, I'm not sure why you chose to build this thing so close to your castle. Usually in front of a castle would be like a square. Like a big square, and then buildings will be further back. This is really close. Did you, like, was this planned, or did you start building this house from the back, and then by the time you got to the front, you ran out of space? Or did you actually start from the front and plan to build this thing this close? Because maybe that might be something you want to look at too, like look at kind of buildings in real life and how far apart they are. Sometimes buildings are really close together, but that seems a little strange. What did you actually ask me? I will be happy about your opinion and ideas for the town. Well, my opinions are: look more at real life buildings and look closely at them. I guess one thing that I would kind of point out is consider how things meet the ground. That seems... I don't know if that makes sense to you. Usually things have a foundation, and usually buildings have a foundation that allows it to stand on top of the ground. Yours look like they're just sitting on the ground. Not sure how much sense that makes. Not sure how true it is neither. Like, if you cannot go around your own house and look at the bottom of it, maybe it's not always true. Actually, I'm not sure this is all that reliable now. But usually, like, things will have a foundation, and even if it doesn't, then maybe it should have a foundation. I'm saying that, and I'm thinking about the things I build, as some of them don't have foundations. Most of them do. So I mean, if you just kind of put a foundation around it, it's a little bit strange. I'm just kind of doing this rough, and also it's the same material as the wall itself. So maybe I should choose a different material. But again, I don't know if you think that's better, just having it sit on a foundation instead of having it kind of just sit on the ground. Like you're implying, because like in a real building you would put down a foundation, you would kind of put down the floor, and then you put the walls on the floor. Maybe you kind of bury the columns in the ground maybe, and then you kind of have the columns sticking out, and then you put the walls on the floor. Like just kind of think of how you would, well I guess you wouldn't know, but just kind of imagine you're building a house. What would you do? You put down the floor, put the walls on the floor, and then put the roof on the walls, right? And foundations are kind of important. And I don't see very many foundations, and especially like this. You almost never have, in fact you would never have the inside of a house completely flush with the outside ground. And I say this like, I would say this to everyone, and it's a pretty common mistake, so it's not, I'm not just kind of looking at you and then saying you're bad or anything. It's a common mistake that a lot of people would make. Because, you know, when it rains in here, you don't get water flooding into your house in Minecraft, but you would in real life. And it would be really kind of a sad time for you if every time it rained, you get a puddle coming into your house. So that's why, again, houses usually are slightly above the ground at least. And that's what I mean about foundations. Like if it were me, I would kind of have a foundation, and then the interior might just be one block above the exterior. Or at least half a block above the exterior. You know, so just so that it's sitting on something, it's not just sitting on the ground. Because, you know, dirt in real life, it's kind of soft and soggy, and a house is heavy. So if you put a heavy thing on kind of soft ground, it moves, and the ground's not stable. Like, you know, the ground, you walk on the ground and you think, oh, that's pretty stable. But when we have like a massive heavy house on it, even a little bit of movement would kind of make giant cracks in your house, and things would kind of fall apart. So it really needs to be really solid, and that's why foundations are important. And none of your buildings have foundations. Like, it's one of those things that you don't notice when you're playing a game, but you would notice in real life. Like, you would seriously notice it in real life. So that may be something to think about. Ideas for your town. I mean, you have a port, you have a blacksmith, you have, I guess you need a market district, you might need a business district, and you might need a residential district, and you might even need a manufacturing district. I guess you've got the blacksmith, that might be start of a manufacturing district. Like, what do you usually have in like a medieval thing? You might have a carpenter, you might have a leather worker, and people who make clothes and things. Maybe you can have like a little, you know, industrial district there. Maybe you can have like a, probably the market and the commercials district would be around here, just because the port is here. And so, you know, if you bring in goods, and you bring in goods by ship, and then you take them to the market, maybe that will make sense if the market is like, you know, right there, just so that it's close to the port. So maybe like, you know, industrial, commercial, maybe a bit of residential around there, maybe like a park or a town square. So that's the typical stuff you would find in a town. The walls, you're not happy with the towers. Yeah, just do something slightly fancy with the towers. Differentiate it a little bit from the rest. The walls, again, the walls look quite plain, but that's how real city walls actually are, so I don't know if that's something you are concerned about. What else should I say? Not much, really. I can't really think of much else to say. Why did you stop again? You said, I have let it rest for a long time now because I don't really know how to continue or if I should change something about it. I would finish it. I mean, you're in creative mode, and I don't think it'll be that difficult to finish. I would do a bit of planning. I would definitely plan it out. So if you have like districts and streets and a park, so we kind of put down, lay out where the park is, lay out where the streets are, and then just kind of fill in a few buildings. You might have, one building is that big, you might have like, you know, carpenter, leather worker, and a tailor. So kind of 3 buildings, and then you might have a market, You have like a square, maybe a church. I don't know if this town is religious, and like some kind of commercial offices maybe, and then some houses, maybe like 8 or 10 houses, and they would finish the town. And like the road would need to join up with the main gate, obviously, and it would need to join up with the port, obviously. Yeah, finish it. Why not? Why not? Just cause it's obviously unfinished at the moment, you know? And I think, even if you're not happy with everything about it, that's fine. That's good. It's good that you're not happy with it. That sounds weird, doesn't it? But the fact that you're not happy with it means that you have room to improve, and you have some idea on how to improve. And that's a good thing. It means like you've made something, you don't like parts of it, therefore you have an idea how to make the next thing better, or even just kind of change the one thing you have and make this better. So the fact that you're not happy with it means that you're going to improve it, which means you're learning, which means you're getting better. So it's actually a good thing for you to feel that way. It does sound a bit weird, but it is, because you're going to improve. That's the first step towards getting better at design, is being not happy with your work and then deciding to make it better, you know? So nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah, I would finish it. Lay out the town. Definitely lay out the town first. Like, bad planning is going to get you into a lot of trouble. So put down the roads, put down the park, put down the marketplace, and then build the stuff around it. And, actually, just try to be careful about how much space you need. It's very easy, if you're not used to, or if you don't have much experience, it's very easy to misjudge how much space you need for a building. So take the stuff you've built and say, okay, is this big enough for a carpenter? You know, a carpenter might be similar to a blacksmith. Maybe you just kind of have a similar thing. So if you need this many blocks for the blacksmith, and you want a carpenter to be somewhat similar, then you also need this many blocks for the carpenter. So you want to put down the road and then leave this many blocks for the carpenter. So just be really careful how big you want your houses to be. The last thing you want to do is to put down the roads, put down the marketplace, put down the square, and then just have these kind of really tiny houses, or we kind of have too big houses even. So just be we'll try to be careful, but even if you get it wrong, again, it's all learning. It's all learning. So even if you get that wrong, hey, you learned something. You learned that, hey, it's not enough space, or maybe it's too much space. Then the next time you just kind of adjust your sizes accordingly. As long as you remember what you're doing and you kind of remember what you need to do next time to improve, then everything's great, you know? Yeah, lay out the town, build the rest of it. And the great thing is that you've put a wall around it. So whatever it is you do, you know that you're not going to take any more time than it takes to fill in within the walls. Unless you really do want to expand outside the walls. So, like the commitment is closed-ended. Like, there's a limited amount of space for you to do stuff anyway. And like you say, things look weird when you build taller than the city walls, so maybe everything will be shorter than the walls anyway. So it's not like you're gonna build a lot of big stuff. You know how big. Like, they have to be less than this tall, and they are within the walls. So so you can kind of estimate how much time it might take. Or at least know that it's not gonna take forever. So that's good. That's a plus. Like, sometimes people talk about projects, and they kind of talk about open-ended projects. Like, I have an idea, and there's no end to it, which I always think is a bad idea. Like you always should have an objective that you reach and you can stop. And if you want to keep going, then you make another objective. But don't just say, hey, I'll do something forever. It's like, oh, I'll start a series, but how do you end it? Because you wanna, it's bad. I think it kind of it demoralizes you if you start something and then you don't know how to finish it. I think it's demoralizing, because it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And maybe you feel that way because in your message you kind of say you left it for a year or more, and you left it for a long time because you don't know how to continue. Well, the good news is you can't continue any more than just filling in the space within the walls. So, in that sense, maybe that's good news. Okay, I'll stop rambling. So foundations is important. Staircases indoors are difficult and important. And the height of the houses, I think these houses could be like 2 or 3 meters shorter than they are now. In which case they would be somewhat smaller than the walls, in which case they might be a little more sensible, or they might look better in this setting. And the other thing is, like, if you want space, but you don't want houses to be tall, you can have basements. You can, like, dig down. So if like, okay, this house needs to be like 3 stories tall, but, I don't want it to be 3 stories above ground because then it'll be taller than the walls. We'll just kind of have a basement floor. If you just need to fit in more bedrooms or whatever it is. So you can do that, just have basements. If you don't want things to be, much taller than the walls. And okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's good. And the best part is not just what you've made, but the fact that you want to get better and you're not satisfied. That's the great thing about it. Because being not satisfied means that you're gonna improve. You're gonna do something else. You're gonna get better at it. And you're gonna learn from it. And that's the best part, not being satisfied. Okay, see you guys.